All right, what's up, dudes? So I don't know how many of these we're gonna get through, but I figured we might as well start making a couple just to see if we can help some people out. Here we go. So I'm gonna skip all the technical stuff. I advise you to look all that up if you're interested in knowing all the names of all the parts of a guitar and all that stuff. You should definitely look it up. I'm just gonna get you started on stuff that can be functional, right? So naturally, got your guitar right here. Okay. When you count the strings, count them from the bottom to the top, right? One, two, three, four, five, six, right? These things here are called frets, right? All these little spaces in between here. So if there's a middle one, there's the first fret, second fret, third fret. It goes all the way down. The first fret goes here to here, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, all the way down. Um, you got the bridge at the bottom and the nut at the top, which is this guy here and this guy down here. Sorry, you can't really see it too well. And the strings on a classically, I don't want to say classic, but classically tuned guitar, they go E, A, D, G, B, E when they're open meaning when you're not holding any of the frets. Open is when you go, right, just like that, and you're not holding down anything on here. So, the guy that taught me how to remember that said to remember every acid dealer gets busted eventually. So EADGBE are the strings for those guitars, right? And like I said, when you count them number wise, you start from the bottom and you work your way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now that we got the fun stuff out of the way, one of the easiest ways to start learning playing guitar is to learn chords, right? And chords, there's a whole lot to chords as far as there's not a whole lot to chords, but there's enough to chords that you got to do some digging if you want to know how chords are built. But chords are just groups of notes that sound good together, pretty much, right? They harmonize together, or whatever the word is. So the first chord that I had learned is called the G chord, and the chords are all about where you position your hands on the frets, your fingers on the frets. So there's a lot of different places that you can play chords. The basic ones that I was taught first are the ones I'm going to show you. So keep in mind that this doesn't happen overnight. When I started playing, I thought that I should just be able to think of how I want the finger shapes to be, and my fingers would just do that. It doesn't work like that, not even a little bit. It's lots and lots and lots of practice for finger dexterity to get your fingers to do what you want them to do when you're putting them on the fretboard. So when you're making a G chord, right? G is probably one of the most, if not the most used chord when you're playing, especially when you're first starting playing. So starting from the bottom here, we're going to go into the third fret. 1, 2, 3, right? And we're going to put your pinky finger on that fret. Now, when you fret, you want to try and use the bar, right? That's the closest to the fret that's closest to the body of the guitar. So, in other words, when I'm fretting this pinky, I don't want it to be back here because that leaves lots of room for vibration in the front, and vibration's a bad thing. Well, in some senses, when you're playing. So when I fret that, I want to fret it as close to the body as I can up against that fret. Okay. There's two ways that you can play a G chord. You can put your ring finger right above that one, right there, or you can leave your ring finger off of that one. I like to play it with my ring finger on. And then you come up here and you put your middle finger on the sixth string in that third fret. So you got these two down here in the third fret, this one on the top one in the third fret, and then you put your first finger on the fifth string in the second fret. See that? 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. So what you got to do now is you got to get all those fingers as close to the fret that's closest to the body as possible, right? And then when you play the strings, you play all 6 strings. Some chords you don't play all 6 strings. Some you play 5, some you play 3, some you play 4, whatever. So when I play that, it's going to sound like this. Right? So that's your G chord, just like that. Now, what you got to be able to do through time and practice is you got to be able to put your fingers up on there pretty quick, like, so that if you're playing a song and you're switching from one chord to another, that you can get that one up there relatively quickly. practicing that is going to give you dents in your fingers, right? And it's going to turn the end of your fingers into leather eventually if you keep playing it. So when you start off, you want to be able to go from nothing to being able to make that shape with your finger. Excuse me, sorry, keep whacking it. You want to be able to make that shape with your finger from nothing. So you just want to be able to put it on there and make that shape right quick, or go from another chord to that shape. And the faster you can do it, the faster you can transition through chords. So just to get you started, I'm going to show you a second chord, and only because these two kind of relate to each other a little bit. So the G chord, we got first finger, pinky finger down here, ring finger right above it, middle finger on the top string, and then your first finger on the 5th string in the 2nd fret, right? So I got them all on there the way I want them. Now, an easy chord to switch to from that, if you're making that G chord this way, is the D chord, right? And again, it feels like you should just be able to think this way and it'll just jump right off, but it doesn't necessarily happen that way. It takes practice. So an easy way to do that is to take all your fingers off except your ring finger, right? So I'm going to leave my ring finger right there. And then I'm going to move my 1st and 2nd fingers, these two, to the strings right above and below my ring finger in the 2nd fret. So I'm staying in this fret that I'm in, picking my fingers up and moving them down here so that my middle finger is going to go on the 1st string in the 2nd fret, and my 1st finger is going to go into the 3rd string in the 2nd fret, right? And now I'm only playing 4 strings. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And that's my D chord. See that? So, trying to get a better angle on it there for you. So you can see that this one's on that fret, the 1st string in the 2nd fret, and this one's on the 3rd string in the 2nd fret, and my ring finger's still in the same place on the 2nd string in the 3rd fret, okay? Now, if I want to go back to the G, I just put my pinky back on right underneath my ring finger, and then I move these two back up to where they started, up here. Dig that? So I'm going back and forth. You understand what I'm saying there so far? So I'm hoping that this is enough to get you started. I'm not trying to overwhelm anybody, but at some point, if you're going to start playing, this is a good place to start playing. And eventually, I'll try and show you a little bit about strumming and stuff too. But like I said, if you really, really want to learn, you got to go. It's better to be sitting in front of somebody to have them teach you, because again, I'm still. I mean, I'm not even really in the same realm as the amateurs myself. So you play the D, you play the G, and you go back and forth between the two. Shouldn't take long that your fingers are going to start burning. That's the way it goes. You might as well skip the whining about it, because nobody cares about that. Just keep practicing, and eventually it'll get better. Okay? You with me so far? All right, so you learned nut and bridge. You learned frets, right? Fret, 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 in between all the fret bars here on the neck. You learned the G, which is middle finger on the 3rd string. Middle finger on the 6th string in the 3rd fret. 1st finger and the 5th string in the 2nd fret. And then your pinky and your ring finger on the bottom 2 strings in the 3rd fret. And then you learn to keep your pinky or your ring finger on where it is down here in the 3rd fret, and move your 1st finger and your middle finger above and below in the 2nd fret on those 2 strings. Got all that? Take that one off there. You can see those two. All right. You see them? And then you go back up to the G. So that'll be enough to get you started. If you can get those 2 started, you're off to a real good start playing. So anyway, I hope that was helpful, and we'll do another one pretty soon.